Hello, welcome to Miniature Realms. My name's Stuart. The Peninsular War has finally hit Warlord Games' Epic Battles Napoleonic range, and Warlord have very kindly sent me some of the new miniatures to take a look at. Miniature Realms is proudly sponsored by Baron of Dice, premium wargaming dice. Over 500 styles, over 4,000 customer reviews. Welcome to the best dice on the planet. When I was around 15, I remember watching this fantastic show that a few people may have heard of called Sharpe on ITV in the UK. It introduced me to Sean Bean and Elizabeth Hurley and a young Daniel Craig, but more importantly to the world of Napoleonic warfare, and in particular the Peninsular War, which I absolutely fell in love with. I was already completely absorbed by tabletop wargaming at the time. All Games Workshop games, as you can imagine, still love them to this day, but I started taking interest in historical games purely because of this TV show. Very soon the TV series just wasn't enough, and I went on and read all of the Sharpe novels that were released at that time, and of course I've since caught up with all the later releases as well. Not only that, reading Bernard Cornwell's other periods and other books led me into other rabbit holes in terms of wargaming and obsessions with history and battles and all of those things that it entails. I think it's safe to say that while I love many periods of history, the Napoleonic Wars and the Peninsular War in particular just capture me so much, and I was really eager to do more stuff on the tabletop. And with the launch of Epic Battles Waterloo, I was super excited, but I always wanted to do more peninsula based things, and I could do, it was easy enough to do just with painting, but I really wanted to focus on peninsular campaigns. And finally we have a release that will hopefully lead me down that path with a little bit more ease. So we have the release of British Line Infantry Peninsular, still branded with the black powder Epic Battles, the Waterloo campaign logo at the top, and that makes sense, that's the logo for that era of their gaming. But with this release, those of us who want to play peninsular battles and have British troops that their uniforms reflect a little bit closer to what they would have been, so we're looking at our stovepipe shakos here and our bicorns on the officers and all of that kind of stuff. We now have the ability to purchase miniatures that will do it without us needing to convert or just do painting conversions. And this set retails in the UK at full RRP at £22 from the Warlord Games website, and you get enough to do 2 battalions of Peninsular British Infantry. Obviously that depends on how many stands you use or what rule systems you use, but this is based on the guidelines that they set out for their Epic Battles range. You do what you want with them, but you get essentially 2 full regiments, because you've got 2 sets of colours for each, some flags in there as well. We'll come back to that a little bit later as we unbox it, but for £22 you're getting 2 regiments. So thank you very much, Warlord Games, for sending these over early for me to have a little look at and share with you guys, and let's open them up and see what's inside. With that cellophane off, we get a little bit less glare on the camera. I like the packaging. Pretty clear, it tells you what you get in there, it tells you about the scale, gives you a list of all the contents and things, all standard stuff for wargaming miniatures. Interestingly, inside you only get 2 sets of flags from 2 regiments, that's all you need, but I'm just a little bit interested about the choices they made of which regiments. It seems a little bit strange to limit it to that, but I also appreciate they can't print everything we may need, so it's a kind of, here you go, use these if you want to, lots of people will buy their own. So laid out on the table, that's what you get in the set. You get your Warlord resin strips. This is the new kind of Warlord resin, a little bit firmer, but still enough play in it that it won't snap at all. It's a new formulation in the way also that you can file it and clean it up much better than the older Warlord resin for people who have had it before and disliked it. Now personally, I think the detail seems super crisp on these. I've got no problems with these whatsoever. They seem very, very good casts. And then do the little test with the mold line, and it's coming off very easily with a blade. And for those with concerns, it files off fine as well. It's never as easy as it is on plastic, but it still comes off pretty well. For those of you who had experiences with early Warlord resin, so this is the spin cast, the Siocast resin that you've seen envelop the world of miniatures over the last few years. This is improving all the time, and I think this is pretty good. I've got absolutely no problems with it being in this material rather than metal. Now, I appreciate that is a personal thing, and many people would have preferred these in metal. Metal's expensive at the moment. This is why you get them at this price. So this is the way we have Peninsular miniatures through Warlord Games. Some people won't like that. They will buy them from other places. That's cool. That's fine. You know, share your own opinions in the comments on it. That's my position on it. I quite like these. They're cool. The casts are good, and I'm happy that Warlord Games have done them. Yes, there are alternatives out there. If you don't like Warlord resin, you're not going to like it. It's as simple as that, really. You can go around and round with the discussions on it. I think it's improving all the time, and I'm really impressed with the quality of these casts. There's not a huge amount of variation between the different sculpts on there. You've got strips with each flank company, so you've got your epaulets on different ends of the ranks, depending whether you need light or grenadier, and then your centre companies don't have those at all. And I think the command strip is really interesting. I expected it to be all in one, but your two flag bearers are separate, which is quite interesting. Now, the really good thing about this being resin, a lot of people split their strips. Split them in half because they don't like the dimensions that Warlord Games have used for epic battles, doesn't suit with all the rule sets, etc. And I might actually be splitting these. I've done it a few times with some of my Warlord Games epic battles projects before, and for my Peninsula project I might do it with all of them, and I think this makes it much easier for you to do your command strip, and people will have extras left over as well, or you've got the ability to have more ranks go deeper for column formations and things like that. And so this is really cool, really interesting. Whether I stick them on before I paint them, I'm not sure yet, but I think because it's this resin, it's going to be easier to cut and file and shape afterwards. And you've got a bit of play there, but not to the point where they're misshapen. They've come out as straight cast. There's no bendiness there in terms of a casting quality. Now, let's have a look at the British foot artillery as well. Obviously, foot artillery from the Waterloo range, similar but slightly different uniforms, just the way it was for the Peninsula. I've noticed they've got MDF bases in there. It does list on the website plastic bases. I don't know if that's something they're moving over to more, or whether it was just what was available at the time. I do have early release here, so if you buy them new, you may well find you have plastic, but just thought I would note that. And that's the contents all laid out. Now, again, I'm really happy with the quality of the casts here. There's not huge amounts of flash and things like that at all on them. They clean up nice and easy. The detail is really crisp and clean. And I look at these and just think, yeah, absolutely fantastic. I've got no problems with them whatsoever. I know some people will talk about price in the comments, I'm sure. For me, I'm comfortable with the price they're at, especially when you get them from third parties as well, and they're a little bit cheaper. And it's nice to support your friendly local game stores as well, and it'd be your decision whether you think that this is the way to do your Napoleonic Peninsular British armies or not. It's probably worth mentioning there is also another release as well in Warlord resin at the same time for the Epic Battles Waterloo campaign range, and that is light infantry. So those people were around at the beginning of the epic launch for Waterloo. There was a lot of chatter about regiments that needed a stovepipe shako. At the time I remember saying it'd be great because you could use them for Peninsula as well, but what they've actually done here is brought out a separate stovepipe shako style unit with a uniform that matches the Waterloo campaign, so you can have your light regiments that still use that uniform at the time. I know a lot of people have been painting their rifleman units because they were in close ranks as red coats to cover that, but I haven't asked for those. I don't have those here to do a review of them, but I imagine they're very similar to what's been sent, and I'm definitely personally going to be focusing on a Peninsula project now. But they are available as well for those of you who are looking to do British and need those light infantry regiments. Maybe you can use them as other regiments as well. So we're looking back at the Dutch and some of the Belgian units and things that wore British style uniforms. These will be super versatile for that, and go back to a lot of my older Napoleonic Waterloo epic battles and videos. There's lots and lots of chatter around that, painting conversions and all the things you could do. Oh, now you have some miniatures that you can just do it with. And if you haven't guessed from the beginning of the video, I'm so excited about Peninsular War and Sharpe and all of those kind of things. And I think what I'm going to do is focus on a small British project to start with, to do with early battles in the Peninsular War, where the battles were smaller, less models needed, practically no cavalry needed as well, which is always nice if you don't enjoy painting horses, which I don't in large numbers. And I think that would be a really fun thing to do. I may even dip into Sharpe and do some slightly ahistorical gaming scenarios as well, which I think would be really fun. And there's a lovely book called The Sharpe's Companion by Mark Adkin, and it basically takes your Sharpe books and puts them in a cross-reference with the real historical battles, placing Sharpe in those battles where he would be, because the South Essex, the regiment that he was part of, obviously was a rifleman, but part of a fictitious South Essex regiment in the Peninsula, they are extra and added to the historical thing. So you can kind of do proper historical battles, but then also squeeze in the South Essex if you wanted to. So I might well have some fun. It's definitely a good excuse to do some converting and paint up a South Essex with Sharpe in it. Why would I not want to do that? That would be so much fun. So look out on the channel in the coming weeks or months or so. There will definitely be a video around that, and I will include some painting in that as well. Might be a 1 or 2 video series, maybe 3 or something, with a bit of a project idea and a little bit of painting in there. I'm not going to go into really long project vlogs anymore because they're very hard to finish, and I don't want to start something that isn't complete for people. But anyway, I'm excited by these. Thank you, Warlord Guys, for sending them to me, and I'm looking forward to getting some paint on them. Thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you found it useful or helpful one way or another, even if it's just to help you decide whether to purchase these miniatures. I know for a lot of people, the miniatures are very close to the Napoleonic Waterloo range British anyway, and there's very little difference at that scale. It's just the way you paint them, and I believe that was the original line from Warlord Games right back at the beginning when people asked for these, and they said, you know, just paint them slightly differently. I'm glad they've done these. They're obviously in resin for that reason, because they probably won't sell quite as many as they do for these other things, but for people like me who absolutely love the Peninsular War, this is really exciting, and I hope that means they can in the future maybe expand that range to cover that conflict as well. It's definitely something that excites me more. There will be a painting video based on these miniatures, and hopefully a couple more in relation to it as well. I still do like to cover epic battles on the channel. I know there are lots of other things on there as well now, so those of you that joined and subscribed to the channel way back now, because of this game and these miniatures, do stick around, because it might be a little bit less often than it was right back in the days of the excitement of the launch, but I will still put content out based on these wonderful games from Warlord Games. I really love them, so look out for those in the future. If you're not already subscribed, please do hit the button below. There's loads of epic content on there, some of it a little bit older now, but still really useful. It will give you ideas how to paint these. I'm going to try and paint these maybe slightly different than I did before, so there's something slightly different from that well-watched video tutorial for the original British Infantry, but that one is also a really good indicator of how you could paint these miniatures as well. If you'd like to support the channel, I've got a few affiliate links down below, including one from Warlord Games. If you're buying directly from them, just click through the link in the video description. It doesn't cost you any more, and it lets them know you've come via this video, which is super helpful to me. If you'd like to join the Discord, there's a super friendly place to come and chat about painting, about anything wargaming over there. And I do have a Patreon as well, with multiple tiers to suit multiple different needs, depending on whether you want painting tuition or just to support the channel. But thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you soon.